Hello and welcome to another edition of the Franchise Tag Overtime. I'm Gareth Smith, and today I'm joined by San Antonio's punter, Brad Wing. How are you doing, Brad?
Good, Gareth. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for coming on. I do appreciate your time today, as you are in the middle of the season now. You're fresh from your first win of the season down in Orlando. How good did it feel to get that first win?
It was good. The guys here have been working really hard along with the coaches. So it was good to see that kind of payoff. And we're just excited for the challenge we have ahead of us this weekend with Houston.
Now, and that is obviously a interesting battle of Texas coming up again this weekend. With there being three Texas teams, it's always going to be interesting when two sides from Texas meet off. And Houston haven't had a bad start at all with 2 wins out of 2. How excited are you for going up against, at the moment, what a lot of people are saying is the best side in the XFL?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are really excited about the challenge. We're all competitors here, and everyone likes to go up against whoever thinks the best is. We've been hearing whispers that people think that may be Houston, so we're just very excited to go out there and answer the challenge.
And obviously, yourself is someone that us UK fans would have heard of from your time in the NFL. You had a very, very successful time in New York, particularly. But I'd like to go back a bit, if that's okay, because I just wanted to know how someone living in Melbourne, Australia, ends up going to Baton Rouge in Louisiana to high school. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting tale. So my dad, he was traveling the world in his mid-20s with a couple of his friends, and he made friends in various parts of the world, and he made some close friends that lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that he stayed in contact with, obviously still today. So that was the connection with Baton Rouge. We knew a family that lived in Baton Rouge, and I kind of wanted to just go to America. I had been cut from my Australian rules football team over there, so I didn't have a plan B. I wanted to keep playing sports as long as I could. So we looked around online for an exchange student program, found one, and then the rule was you're either allocated a random family or you could nominate a family if you knew somebody. So just by pure luck, the fact that they lived in Baton Rouge was the only reason I went there. I mean, if they had lived in Cleveland, I would have been in Cleveland, So I'm grateful they were in Baton Rouge, that's for sure, because it worked out pretty good.
And obviously your time as an Aussie rules player, do you think that's where your ability to place kicks so effectively has come from? Because obviously Aussie rules is a very, very tough sport. It's a sport, as somebody who plays rugby, I've watched that sometimes going, that sport looks harsh. And this is from a rugby player. So do you think that's where your ability to place kicks so effectively has come from?
Yeah, I really do. I've said this ever since I've been over in the country is, Australian rules football, it really grooms you well to be a punter in America because you're just from the age you start, you're taught to kick under a lot of high pressure situations. You got to use both feet to kick the ball. So it does put you in a good place as far as when you come over here and ready to punt in this sport, because you're not there are some high pressure situations, but compared to Aussie rules, I mean, you can have 10 guys all around literally touching you while you're kicking the ball. Here I'm fortunate enough to have 10 other guys blocking for me, which is nice, make sure the other guys don't get me. But I definitely think that Australian rules is one of the best ways to groom a punter for American football, for sure. You see a lot of guys coming over and having success in college, and I think it's just because they've been doing it from such a young age.
And you do see a few, obviously, Australian punters have appeared, obviously, in the NFL as well. There seems to be quite a growing link between players who played Aussie rules and, as you say, the pressure that they put under. So this is someone who, say, played rugby league, and obviously the pressure that the kickers get on the last tackle on that to get a ball off, and it just in Aussie rules, it's just a complete different animal. So it's one of those sports that is very admirable to anyone who plays it. But to be honest, I would love to have had a go at, but probably would have regretted it very quickly.
No, it's all right.
So obviously you went to Baton Rouge, and then after that you ended up going to LSU, which is obviously an excellent school with a very, very good footballing pedigree. How did you find your time at LSU?
Oh man, it was a ball. It was great. That's in Baton Rouge as well. So that was 10 minutes from the high school I went to and 10, 15 minutes from the family I lived with. So I moved there in 2009 for my senior year of high school, which is grade 12, the last year of high school. So LSU, everyone's talking about LSU, and I would see it on TV and stuff like that. And then when the opportunity came for me to go there, it was just, I'd only been there for a year, but I was as much as an LSU fan as anyone that's born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, I wasn't really expecting it to be as big as it was. Like you said, it's one of the biggest programs for football in the country. And I mean, I remember my first game there as a spectator in the stands, and there's 100,000 people at the game and another 100,000 people outside doing what they call tailgating. That was something I got into. It's basically just a big party before the game. They get there at the crack of dawn and start going. So that's a special place to me, man. Still to this day, I'm very grateful that I was able to be an LSU Tiger.
And as you say, it's one of the schools that we get to actually watch in the UK, because we don't get an awful lot of college ball over here, sadly. We have one channel, BT Sports, which will show, I think it's 6 games over the course of a weekend, but it's usually going to be your college powerhouses. It's going to be your LSUs, it's going to be your Brahmas, some Ohio State and stuff like that. You're going to see a lot of your powerhouses play. So LSU obviously is one that we do get over here. So you then went on from college to then obviously entering the NFL, initially with my beloved Eagles. And then from there, you went on to the Steelers and the Giants. Obviously, the Giants, obviously, where a lot of fans, particularly in the UK, will remember you from. How was your time in New York playing for such an iconic team as the Giants?
Yeah, again, man, I feel like I've been so lucky on this journey. A couple of the places I've landed, New York was great, really good program. And then obviously the city's not too bad itself. There's always something to do in New York City, and I had never been there before prior to getting to the Giants. So it was just a really good experience as a whole. It was good to work there. It was good to live there. Obviously, when family or friends come in to visit, they've got a lot of stuff to do because the city's right across the street, or right across the river, rather. But yeah, I've made some really good friends in New York that I'll have for the rest of my life. And it's really like that on every team I've been on, but I was in New York for the longest. So a couple of those relationships are real special to me.
And then obviously the XFL opportunity came about. How did it come about for yourself? Because it's always interesting hearing how players ended up either in the player pool or ended up on the team. So how did this opportunity come about for yourself?
Well, it's funny because 2020, when the XFL came around, I had the decision whether to pursue it or not, and I kind of didn't. In my head, I thought I was maybe done with it. And obviously, some years passed, and I got the itch again. I just missed it. But still, there was nothing really set in concrete. And I was just scrolling on Instagram one day. This must have been like in May or June, somewhere around then, and I saw. I guess it was an advertisement for a future workout for punters and kickers. So it was basically like a punter, kicker, and long snapper combine that was being held, I think, in September or October or something like that. And, I saw that and I reached out to my agent. We basically just signed up for that. And I started really getting after it. So thank God for Instagram, huh?
Yeah, as I say, it's amazing how some of these things, like, I'll be honest, like how the first interview came about was just literally me looking through what players. The first player I ever got on from the XFL was Abram Smith from DC. And my first XFL interview was actually at Steelers legend in Rod Woodson was the first interview I had from anyone in the XFL, which was very strange for me to get. It was like, when you reach out and go, can we do an interview, and expect a flat out, not a chance in hell. And got a yes very quickly, and it was very surprising. So the XFL opportunity came about, and you found out you were obviously going to San Antonio, which is a brand new franchise for the XFL, but a city that has been crying out for a professional football team for a long, long time. How did it feel knowing you were going to San Antonio and Texas?
Well, people probably won't believe me when I say this, but it's the honest to God's truth. Back then, in May or June, whatever it was, they had released the cities and the coaches. Or I can't exactly remember when they released the cities or the coaches, but I got on and had a look. And honest to God, when I saw San Antonio and they had Coach Ward here, I said, man, that would just be perfect. If I could pick it, that's where I would want to go. You know, they play in a dome too, which is great for my job when we don't have to worry about wind or anything like that. Makes my life a lot easier. And then it all just unfolded exactly how it did. And I tell you, I couldn't be more happy. And then, you know, once getting here, I just feel very lucky to be on this team. You know, we got great coaches that go above and beyond for us. All the players here are great. I mean, we've only been here a couple of months. And again, I've made some strong connections with guys on this team that I know will be friends for a long, long time. And then the fans, like you said, you know, we had our first game at home and they were ready. You know, the energy was through the roof. So we're excited, man. We're excited to go out there and play hard for these fans and give them something to watch.
And as you mentioned, that opening game at the Alamo Dome, which was unfortunately one of the first games that showed how the XFL rules means no team is truly out of the game, unfortunately for yourselves, with St. Louis, who only seem to play in the last 2 minutes of every game so far this season. But the fans were on point. The noise they were making didn't half translate so well. It sounded really loud in the stadium. How much were you absorbing that atmosphere during that opening game?
You know, there was definitely a couple of moments where I was just standing there taking it all in because it had been a couple of years for myself since I've been on a field. So just to feel that energy and be in that kind of setting, you know, I definitely missed that. So there was a couple of times I was just taking that in. And like I said, we're just grateful for the fans. You know, we got, like you said, we're a new city, new fan base, but it feels like we've been around for a while. So definitely excited to get back down there and play in front of them again, for sure.
And obviously this weekend, you've obviously got Houston, and that game is going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time for us fans in the UK. It's 1 a.m., which is always a bit of a commitment for us fans in the UK whenever we watch American sports. But how confident are you going into that game that you can go in and beat, in effect, the team that everyone is talking about right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're really confident. You know, we just focus on ourselves, you know, and if we eliminate some of the mistakes that we make and the things that we do to ourselves, we feel like we can beat anybody. So, you know, that's just been a big focal point this week, is just take care of the ball, do what we know we can do, and then things should shake out how we want them to, no matter who we're playing.
And have you had much chance to watch any of the coverage of the XFL itself? Because it's been really interesting watching the slight difference to what you would have in NFL, such as being able to hear the referees discussing, for example, what the flag is, or when there is a review. Have you had much chance to watch any of the coverage?
Oh, yeah. We, you know, if we're playing the next day, we watch it the night before a game when we're all in the hotel. And I mean, guys are very bought in and trying to, you know, check out the opponents, and then also just watching this new game. You know, it's got a lot of different rules. Like you said, our game against St. Louis was frustrating for us. I had a lot of people telling me how exciting it was, but, you know, I didn't think it was very exciting from where I was standing, you know. But then I think it was the next week, like you said, I watched St. Louis play, I think it was Seattle, and it was exciting. I mean, it was an exciting end. So, you know, I'm excited for this sport and this league, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, we've definitely been watching.
And do you think there's anything the NFL could learn from the stuff that the XFL is doing right now? Is there anything you think that, in effect, the established league could learn from yourselves and this league?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, the minor changes, well, not so minor, but the changes they've made to the special teams and stuff like that, I think that's what the NFL really is looking at, is to see how it goes here, and then to see if they take it up to their league. There's a lot of things that make sense, to be honest with you, and a lot of things to make it a little bit more exciting. So I think the main thing for the NFL, they'll just wait to see how it's received down at this level, and then that'll kind of determine whether they want to do it or not. But I think there'll definitely be some things that you see carry over.
I'll be honest, being an Eagles fan, I especially wish there was a bit more transparency around refereeing, and being able to challenge referee flags a little bit more. But then that's just a bit of my own bias towards, and I'm not bitter about that still at all.
No, it doesn't
but obviously, tickets are still available for that game at xfl.com/tickets. So do make sure you go down and check it out. It will be a battle for Texas between two very, very good Texas teams. So make sure if you are a Brahmas fan that you do go support Brad and the team on to victory. Thank you very much for your time today. Truly appreciate it. I do appreciate how busy it is right now, and it's great to finally say I've got my first Brahma come on to speak to me. So thank you very much for your time.
Anytime, Gareth. I hope to join you back here one day.
No, thank you very much for your time, and thank you everyone who's watching. We'll be back again soon with another very special guest.